Hello, checking in on, I think I'm up to like chapter 19 of The Club by Leo Damorosk, which is all about kind of the circle around uh, Samuel Johnson and James Boswell in the form of this club, social club that Johnson created with Joshua Reynolds, the great portrait painter. And in this chapter, chapter 19, we're getting a lot about Gibbon, Edward Gibbon, famous as the author of The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, which it turns out, if he had actually published before attempting to join the club, he would most likely not have been able to join, because both Johnson and Boswell despised him because of it, um, calling him, I think it's the infidel. I can't remember. I think it's the infidel. Just, oh, they hated his guts. And basically, it's because Gibbon, um, very much in line with sort of the European philosophers, was like, you know what? Well, his is skeptical about religion, skeptical about the basically the received thought was that the Christian Church had gained dominance because it was divine providence that it did. Where Gibbon was like, you know what? I can't prove that. That's something that's beyond a historian's thing. However, I can point out all the secondary factors that led up to the success of the Christian Church having taken over Europe as the one true church. And this was not taken well by uh, by the very Christian community in England. And there was a great firestorm about this, but there's also enough deists and people like that Gibbon, you know, was unfazed, even though if he regretted putting it at the very end of the first volume. He should have waited until the second volume and put it there. Um, there's yes, we kind of veer from this into the idea of miracles, with a lot of quotes from Hume of the times, about like well, miracles are something pretty doubtful. It kind of going from an empiricist point of view. A lot of the eyewitnesses, like, do they contradict? You should really be able to check these things out on your own. Gibbon, I believe, pointed out that a lot of these lives of saints, a lot of these saints actually wrote autobiographies before they died. And it's funny that the saints don't actually mention the miracles in their autobiographies that then get taken up later to turn them into saints. So it's like, that is interesting. I think he points out something of in Antioch that basically, oh, it was a priest who put the spear in here, and it was kind of convicted of it, but later that was dispensed of, the disproving was dispensed of. And it's like, all you need is a bit of time, and then suddenly it becomes it becomes a matter of faith fact in the thing. So yeah, I mean, Boswell was just like, I'm Johnson. Not Johnson. I'm Boswell. I just believe in Christ and church, and bother. But Johnson, who was very skeptical on a lot of things, was not was very much a believer in the Bible. And this is sort of one of these things of, the Bible is actual fact. Like, there was something about when Christ died, that the skies darkened for 3 days, but they didn't just darken, locally. They darkened the whole world wide, except there's no evidence through all the people who were taking records at the time of this actually having happened. And it's, why didn't they check this one out? But very much the idea that all the stuff in the Bible, all the things are miracles. Gibbon was very much of the opinion, like, yeah, Christ wise teacher and stuff like that. But this whole thing about him being the literal son of God was a later addition by a kind of Greek philosophy, Greek kind of mystic philosophy there. So, yeah, yeah. The chapter before this was on Adam Smith, which was a really interesting chapter. Again, another figure that didn't really particularly get on with Johnson. Johnson was a competitive talker, where Adam Smith was very much more an introvert, and he had no particular want to share his ideas with Johnson, especially when Johnson would just sort of shout him down. That wasn't his idea of a good time. Mine either. So yes. So Adam Smith, while Gibbon, here, let me finish off Gibbon. Gibbon was sort of revolutionary as a historian who's like, okay, I'm actually going to, I'm going to show you my work. Lots of footnotes. Footnotes were a rather unknown thing. I'm like, I'm going to show evidence, and here is actually the source of my evidence. He was also just a thing of, I'm not going to give you just dry recitation of facts, but I'm going to give you interpretation of those facts. This is the parsing, the reading of history, of the details, of coming up with interpretations, very much the idea of a modern historian. History isn't just facts, it's how do these facts make sense, and to try and do it in a way that you're showing your evidence for those facts. So, significant guy that way. And someone like Voltaire was interested in being a philosophical historian, but he would do it with just using somebody's kind of gloss on the matter and not showing any of his evidence. Gibbon took this philosophy of interpreting history, but doing it with facts, not just kind of airy-fairy kind of blowing wind up your skirts here. So yeah, there was that. Then Adam Smith didn't get along with Johnson, and was very much, the idea of where does economic wealth come? Where's the wealth of nations come from? He's somebody actually I probably should actually try maybe someday to read or comprehend, because is an interesting chapter. And I think I need to probably actually delve into him a little bit deeper to actually be able to say anything about him. But this is all this kind of bouncing it off of Johnson and Boswell. Was it in that chapter that it was the whole thing about kind of the ideas of slavery, where Johnson was definitely, to his credit, thought slavery, he actually kind of went on the same lines as Rousseau of all men had been created equal, and it's only through force and domination that they get subjugated to other men. Whereas Boswell, fuckhead, was very much, we couldn't do that because it would hurt. It would terribly hurt all the people who held the slaves. And besides, slaves were much happier being enslaved and being taken care of, and all the Caribbeans, slaves in the Caribbean, the West Indies, were being well regulated. It's like they weren't dying in their thousands and thousands and thousands through fucking horrible maltreatment. No, Boswell, you fuckhead who wrote a poem in support of slavery, equating it with the being being slave to my mistress as well. It's like, wow. Johnson, Boswell, still really not coming off well in this book. A great storyteller, a great documenter of Johnson, but wow, what a fuckhead. Okay, I will leave it there. More videos later.